Alright, so here's where I'm going to give you a psychological profile of some of these people that they essentially have different approaches to their sound silencing method for the speakers. Essentially, they basically broadcast torturing one person, and then they broadcast that to all their victims, and it's meant, essentially, it's like their encryption is to be a whiny little bitch 90s class little pedophile that does like an older, like, there's an older audio torture method called sound poisoning. And so that is essentially what they're doing. Nowadays, they like to act like they're big fucking geniuses, and that essentially what they're doing is they like to theme everything around TV shows or movies or something, and that the sound poison group of 90s little whiny little pedophile bitches is pie. To be getting the person to be like digging at their face. And that, see, theoretically, in ways, the movie Pie is kind of the documentation of what early Neuralink Nazi scientists would do. Okay? Alright? That is. It's, like I say, a lot of times they make movies out of documenting what people are doing in satanic dark webs and shit, okay? And so, the movie Pie is what these little beaver munching, like little 90s semantic, stupid little pedophiles that think that they're smarter than everybody or something, and that they're not. They're not smarter. And that's essentially where, I know how, see, I was included in an intellectual group that knows this stuff. See, none of them were. This is why I attempt to explain this stuff, because, I know that the government knows about this movie TV shit that is meant to document, like, the most fucked up things all the time. They have whole intelligence groups that look through these type of TV shows and shit, and that they know that there's a high probability of that those movies, like, it's just like the Sliver movie. See, that was essentially the type of shit that happens in New York City with, like, apartment complexes, right? And see how long that shit's been around? And so it's like, this is like where, yeah, they know that it's like usually people that are desperate to get the world to at least comprehend what they were seeing, and that more than likely the people that would have been able to push out the documentation of this type of stuff to at least people in deep webs and shit, they know that those people would have attempted to alert people to it, and that it doesn't ever go anywhere, and that this is where they know that it ends up pushing its way out in the form of books and TV shows and movies that essentially follow some sort of older kind of idea about labeling something fiction and then attempting to document or to have something be understood with a visual aid, basically. See, it bypasses the need in ways for people to, nowadays, it's like, say you find a group of prostitutes or something like that that are like, that see this TV show And that then they know what people were doing in the dark web. And then they have an ability of like potentially telling people like, here's this TV show. It's kind of like what they were doing. And so, I mean, it's, you know, I see, I research the people that do that type of shit. Okay? I research people that do that stuff. And so, yeah, you know, the VR slothing stuff, that is kind of like they basically do a corporation. The people that are making all the money off of it attempt to illuminate, they do. And that in some of the more like fucked up psycho-y ones, they attempt to use people as lab rats in them. They do. And so this is kind of like where these people, a lot of times they, you know, it's kind of like they'll always have these like weird explanations of schizophrenia. They always will. They'll always have that. They'll always have these weird explanations of personality chains and micro personality, all that shit. They always will. And that they think that they're fucking smarter than everybody based on stuff that is completely stupid and fucking retarded. And that, then they essentially, since a bunch of Mormon kids kind of got noticed, they attempt to utilize their cover up excuse methods. Essentially, Mormon kids were found fucking with people and story braiding people. And that then, essentially, they didn't get busted. And so then all these like semantic 90s fucking retarded little semantics. Those stupid little fucking little pedophile bitches. They thought that they could use the same fucking ideas. They seem to think that their theories on sounds, you know, they're fucking weird, fucking retarded shit. Everything that they say basically premises on them optimizing their own psychoness. And then, yeah, they sit around trying to act like somebody else. This is like where they sit around acting in a ghost way, in that, yeah, they're the only ones that comprehend what they're saying in the ghost ways. And that is where they just have other people that are placed on the other side, basically. And that their complex method of controlling both sides of the field. And that basically they just get pissed off because, you know, when it comes to somebody like me that just blatantly research their stupid little bitch brain shit, all of their response methods were pretty much worthless, and just like they're all pretty much fucking worthless, and pretty much the little psycho little outbursts and stuff that they do at people, it's just meant to basically be scaring their victims that they like to keep in a fearful way of them and their power, and power, CIA power or something, whatever they psych up. That's basically, they basically have like their little, they claim to be the pedophile, semantic psychopath, CIA. And so the same kind of problem existed back in the 1980s where similar kind of semantic little pedo bitch, little whiny little pedophiles basically attempted to claim to be some pedophile faction of the CIA in the past. The stuff that they do now is the little modern version. Essentially, all they are is a satanic group doing a satanic S&M that usually includes anchoring, which is to build authentic sex slaves that have amnesia issues to blackmail on like a psychopath all the time. Okay, so it's basically where they still, like I say, they're using the stereotypical fucking S&M apps. And that they all kind of have like different approaches that essentially revolve around some same basic theoretical concepts. It's kind of like, they lose all credibility right away when they sit around justifying torturing somebody into suicide, okay? They just do. I mean, that's the exact way to tell that they're not a real agency group or sanctioned. I mean, nowadays they like to include cops and their little fucking psychonists. They like to include FBI agents and their little psychonists. But then in the end, they're not a sanctioned group, and that you'll know that by their group effort and their dumb fucking explanations that gives them some sort of ability of torturing people to death. Right? And see, this is what I talk about with their little problem with a very concise, easy to follow logical reasoning that works against their whole explanations. This is what I'm talking about. Just because you guys include a bunch of people in federal investigation rounds and shit into your guys' little psycho little pedo club doesn't make what you guys are doing legal ever. It doesn't make one bit of difference. And that if you guys are gonna do what dumb little Mormon kids do to be getting like some sort of weird sympathy and shit, you guys, just because you guys like repurpose everything into finding ways to constantly torture your victims to death, I mean, just because you guys fail at fucking thinking and being smart in every way, and just because you guys are huge fucking failures at the whole method and shit, and since you guys fall on your little pedosaurs and just get all pissy and whiny like a little bitch, and then basically they know that they'll end up dying, or they'll end up committing suicide, or they'll end up in prison, and they pretty much know that. And so until that happens, they like to sit around and constantly dig at their victims and shit. I mean, they're just a stereotypical group of little stupid fucking pedophiles. Just like any other stupid fucking pedophile group online. And that what you people created isn't any different than any other stupid little dumb pedophile group. And that you people are just a stupid, dumb group of pedophiles. And you see, if you guys would have just been a man, then your guys' little semantic little cuck wieners wouldn't be in this position.